Hi, and welcome to my daily Facebook Live, part of my 30-day challenge, self-imposed. Well, my coach imposed it. My name is Barry Selby. I am known as the Love Doctor, also a relationship attraction expert and a passionate champion for the divine feminine, which has led to these talks called Messages from the Masculine. One of these days I'll get that straight out easily. Messages from the Masculine. This is number 38. I actually said number 38 last time, but that was 37. This is 38. And the topic today is very simple. You are enough. And I'm taking this really as my own debrief from this morning's sermon, called it that talk, given by a guest minister at Agape this morning. And my distillation of this, and I'm using this now having been, it was almost 10 hours later, 11 hours? 11 hours later, since then. So I'm speaking now from my own hindsight as well as my own learning about this. And I'll bring it into the circle of conversation about relationship and also about masculine and feminine, because so many of us get caught up in the world of effects. And the piece from the sermon especially I want to talk about is, okay, I'm having a hit to go somewhere with this, so I'm going to go with that. How do I bring this up? In simple terms, let me start with the premise, and then I'll give you some examples. The premise, the understanding is that we are enough, regardless of anything that happens to us. We have been trained, educated, informed, judged, that's a good word to use, as being who we are based on what we do, what we have, what we present, rather than who we are. And so for me personally, I want to bring this to your mind because I've had to go through this myself many times, and this morning's message really hit me on this level, is that who we are is worthy, is deserving, is enough, independent of your circumstances, of your bank account, of your career path, of your relationship history, of anything that's happened to you, for you, with you, however with you, ever. You're enough, period. In my messages before, I talked about things you can do for yourself, and all of these things are encouragements, not requirements. Because what you do with your life is up to you. But the reality is that there's nothing to do to be enough. Now, this world is framed in the format of doing things. It's a physical world, so to do things in the physical world is part of the journey. Great. But if you do good at it or bad at whatever that thing is, I would highly recommend that you stay very present to the experience out there and holding your truth of who you are as being enough inside, separate from that. Because win or lose, you're enough. Coming second place, you are enough. For many of us, we've had the admonition or the feedback from the big grown-ups when we were kids that we had to be number one in whatever we were doing. And so coming in second place sucked, and it meant that we weren't enough. Not true. Who we are is enough. And what stopped me a little bit earlier was the sharing this morning that was mentioned, and I've had a few conversations with people about this recently, about people who choose to leave the planet through suicide. And in the sermon this morning, the minister spoke to that, and I'll put a tag in for the I'll put a link in below this video for the actual live stream recording, so you can watch it yourself. But I want to speak to this from my own experience of friends of mine who I know who have lost people, and a couple of experiences of myself with people I know who've committed suicide. Because that's come up a lot in the last few months, the suicide hotlines, and people being aware of their friends being on the edge and being on suicide watch. So a large part of, I would say, people choosing that as a way out is because they base their value, base their worth, base their enoughness on something external to themselves that's not in their control. Doomed to fail. After the stock market crash, the banking, all the craziness of 2008, put it that way, in America, there were a lot of people who committed suicide because their life that they had built, which surrounded them, their external experience, collapsed around their ears. And they didn't have the words have escaped me, I'll come back to me, but they didn't have a real serious, clear understanding that who they were wasn't what they were doing. And there are people I know who've chosen off the planet because they have been caught up in their doingness versus their beingness as the value of who they are. So again, as a reminder, you are enough just by being you. Doesn't matter what your relationships are like, what your bank account's like, what your spiritual practice is like, what your physical health is like. You are enough. Now, let me put one thing in the market now, and I'll come back to this again in a minute. This is the thoughts present for me now. In your journey through life, you could, in theory, just sit on the couch for the rest of your life and say, I'm enough. But this life does encourage us to do things in the world. The key is, though, can you do things in the world, in career, in finances, in relationship, in health, that you get value from, but don't impact, affect, or govern your self-worth? Because that's the way to live life. Maybe it's the secret to life, is to live from the place of being fully whole and complete as you are, and then enjoying the experience of exploring and practicing new ideas, be it health routines, yoga, fitness training, running a marathon, riding a bike, or going for a certain career, or having creative expression, artistic expression. Any of those things are great to do, but whether you win, lose, or draw, or do massive gains, or if you don't do it perfectly every day, is irrelevant to who you are. It doesn't reflect on your worth. It may reflect on your commitment, it may reflect on your self-will, but those are parts of your personality. That's not who you are. Ooh, that was a big one, wasn't it? Who you are is not your personality. Who you are is not your human beingness and human doingness. Who you are is that spark of light that is eternal. There, I just dropped a spiritual bombshell on you. And for me, with people I know who have passed, left, committed suicide, took their own lives, how are you going to put that? I'm flashing back to a memory when I was a kid. One of my neighbors, who was, I think, 5 years older than me at the time, we used to hang out all the time. And she was, at that time, I was probably 12, she was 17, I think, I'm guessing. We would hang out, and we lived in a cul-de-sac, a very small street, quiet, so we knew each other. And I was enamored with her. She wasn't attractive, in fact, I think she was gay. She was lesbian. But she went through incredible challenges in her life. Now, this is going back to the 60s. So going through that place in England, in reserve part of England, there was this challenge she had because she was coming out of the closet. She was also into drugs, and things happened in a sequence of orders. Her father lost his footing on a ladder and fell off, and basically he ended up dying. And she never recovered from that. So she had all this weight on her shoulders of things she felt were being judged about the world around us. Then her father left. And her her ego structure fell apart. She committed suicide. She OD'd. Because she couldn't handle taking care of her mother, who was emotionally distraught because her father had died. She also was not able to handle her own demons. And I've used this term before in other videos. In fact, one of my earlier Facebook Live talks was about a friend of mine who I know, who is not well known in the Tantra community, who basically left the planet. And I talked about this, about her inner demons won. So, getting back to the beginning of this talk, pretty briefly, to say this: you are enough independent of your circumstances, and we do generally all have some form of demons inside. Those voices, those doubts, those judgments about ourselves, they do not impact who you are. Sorry, they do not impact your self-worth. They do not impact your enoughness. You can pretend it does, and you can choose to value your life based on those things. And I want to admonish you and say, don't. You deserve better. Your life, your love, your beingness is enough. And as I said earlier in that spiritual bomb I dropped on you, you are a divine spark. A spiritual being having a human experience. The human experience doesn't change who you are as a spiritual being. So win, lose, or draw on the human experience, you are enough. I think you're getting my point. And if you're watching this from the end, please go back and watch it from the beginning. This is really simple stuff to remind you that you are fully worthy, deserving, valuable. The example that was given this morning at the sermon, the talk, was about how he took out a $100 bill out of his pocket. I don't have one handy, but basically, let me do this. I'll do it $20 bills, what I got in front of me. So you say, oh, $20 bill, that's valuable. You like that. You can say that's got value. Well, if it got crumpled up, will it change the value? And the obvious answer is no. If you put it underfoot, if you drove over it in a car, if you got it kicked around, would it change the value? It might be dirtier, but would it still be worth 20 bucks? Yeah, you still want 20 bucks? Yeah. The reality is that we treat money sometimes better than we treat ourselves. In life, we may get kicked around. We may get crumpled up. We may get thrown to the side. We may get devalued by someone else's opinion. And we take it seriously. We somehow think that's more important than who we are. Wrong choice. Just like the $20 bill or the $100 bill, its value doesn't change based upon the circumstances it's in. That's a reminder to you. Your value does not change based upon the circumstances you're in. So remember, who you are is deserving. Who you are is valuable. Who you are is enough. All right. I think that covered all the things I was going to cover. That was my message for tonight. It's a late one today. For those who are watching live, this is a late broadcast. I'll be back tomorrow. I've got a topic brewing because of a friend of mine's experience, and it's about men being dicks. Let's watch tomorrow to find out more about that. So that's the end of this broadcast. This is number 38 in the series, ongoing. I'm doing a 30-day challenge that started at number 25. So I'm going to about 54, 55 to do the 30-day challenge. So every day I'm doing Facebook Live. Please join me live. If you're watching the replay and you like it, please share it out with your friends. Comment below if you have any thoughts and comments. If you have any questions or want support, please message me, reach out to me. I'll be there for you. All right? Thanks for watching, and I'll be back again tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Bye.